Hi guys, welcome to week one. I just wanted to check in with you and go over a few things. Little housekeeping and a little lesson kind of mixed into one. Um, I wanted to make sure that you understood that we format things a little bit different going forward. We don't do as many, some professors still like to do the traditional Zoom meetings where the whole class comes at one time and a lesson is covered. I prefer not to do that, and most of the professors from this point forward do, simply because you are all working on different clients at this point, and we want to give you the information on your timetable and then give you the opportunity to feel like you can reach out to us on a one-on-one basis and speak with us about your client, about your unique situation, because every client is different and every PR strategy is different. Every demographic is different. You get the idea. So we wanted to give you the opportunity where you didn't feel like you had an hour of class time and then another hour of talk with the professor and then a lesson. It was just too much. So these lessons are intended for you to watch at your pace when you have the availability to watch them. And then you can contact me for, we can do a Zoom, we can do a chat on the phone, we can talk on text, whatever works for you works for me. It really just depends on what is going to be best for you and how best we can serve your client. So with that said, let's get started. Let me share my screen with you. Here we go. So this week we're talking about the new lessons, the new rules of PR. Well, what are the new rules of PR, and what are the old rules, and what are some of the other things? A lot of the lessons this week, and really for this program, um, come from the new rules of marketing and PR, which is by David Meerman Scott. I use this book as reference a lot. If you're looking for a good reference book for PR, for marketing, for media, it is a great reference book. It is broken down in very good sections and things like that. So I wanted to give you that resource. I'm working to get it in our library. It's currently only in hard copy, so I'm working on them to get it in an ebook version as well so that you guys can access it. Fingers crossed on that. They're usually pretty good about stuff like that. So I wanted to do a quick review of the last 5 months and some fun new terms. I might say fun, but you know, it's like taking a sip out of a fire hose. So quick disclaimer, you are technically this month beginning your second year of graduate school. Yikes, you've made it halfway through. Hurrah! What that means, though, is that the work does tick up a bit. There's more to do, more to take in, and because you are working with a real client, we want to make sure that we have that fiduciary responsibility to the client. They have real food to buy. They have real electric bills to pay. They have real goals for their business, and we are, they are trusting us to help come alongside them and make this happen for them. So we do expect a little bit more going forward, and we do give you a lot more content because now that you're working with a real client, it's more practical and you'll be able to see more and do more. And don't worry, like if you get overwhelmed, you can still contact us, say, I don't know what's going on. We're not leaving you in the deep end of the pool without a tether. We're still here. So what is public relations? Now we're going all the way back to, the beginning of the program. Remember that public relations is reaching out to people who do not care. The public is defined as people who don't care. They aren't people in the company. They aren't people who are already buyers of your client's product and service. These are people who have never heard of your client and don't even know if they need the product. So that's who we are targeting. So if your campaign is focused on something internal, that's not a public relations campaign. So we're going to have to work that out. Again, contact me, I'll help you. You want your campaign to be a single focus campaign to a public, which is somebody who does not know your client and somebody who does not know if they need your client's product or service and/or. So remember, that's the definition of public relations. Your press release versus media release versus promotional report. Okay, so press release, that is a newsworthy event that is sent to a journalist. Don't confuse the term journalist with a media professional. They are not the same thing. An opinion person or actually you're going to be hard pressed to find a true journalist these days, because everybody's got an opinion and they all want to share it. But a true journalist is somebody who reports the news. Clear and unbiased manner, they just report the news. Very few of our projects are going to have a true press release. We are typically going to have a media release. A media release is going to go to the opinion page, the lifestyle page, things like that. That's really kind of what the public relations media emphasis is. So your media release is, even though we use the terms interchangeably, I just want you to have that understanding of, there is the press release, which is really for journalists, and then there's the media release, which is for media, those in media, which is the vast majority of media professionals, if we're being honest. A promotional report is something completely different. A promotional report usually goes to your website. You hope that it's picked up by others, but it is more like an ad, a story that you write that is more like an ad. So you're promoting, there's nothing unbiased about it. There's nothing ambiguous about it. There's a call to action. There are details about whatever you're talking about. There's links. It is promoting your product or service or your client. So those three terms, sorry, it's a windy day here today. So those three terms are not interchangeable. And so if you see those on assignments, make sure you understand who you're writing for, what your audience is, so that you understand the expectations. Target market. Okay, this is a big one, guys, because this is the one that so many people overthink and then don't get right. Your target market. Think about a target. Okay, a target those of you who love Target, if you love Target like I love Target, you know what a target looks like. It's got a small red circle in the middle, then a white circle, then a bigger red circle. We are talking about that small red circle. It is a very narrow group of people. This is not, everybody wants my product and service, and this is not that. It is not good for ages 18 to 25. No. We are talking like a span of no more than 10 years. So 18 to 28, that would be fine. 18 to 45 won't work. Here's why that doesn't work. You cannot create a single campaign for an 18-year-old that's going to resonate with a 45-year-old. It's not going to happen, friends. You can make the argument all you want to. I'm going to show you an example of Apple in a minute. Even Apple doesn't do this, and I think we can agree that their reach is pretty vast. Disney doesn't do this, and I think we can agree their reach is pretty vast. So keep your target market small. It is a very small group, very small, so that you can then reach that white circle secondary market, the red circle tertiary market. Okay. Your buyer persona. The buyer persona is a made-up person. You absolutely make them up. This is where your creativity gets to shine. So it's a made-up person who represents your target market. The reason that we do a buyer persona is so that when I'm creating content, I can go, how would Mary feel about this? She's my buyer persona. She represents my target market. Would this appeal to her? Would this be something she would click on? Would this be something she would share? If I say yes, then it's probably good content. If I go, I don't know if Mary would like this, then you can throw it out. And so it's a really good way to help you craft your content with an actual person in mind. Your metrics. We're going to talk about metrics more, and ROI, we're going to talk about that more in this lesson. Don't be scared by these terms. We're going to walk you through what these mean, how to apply them, all that good stuff, okay? So don't let that freak you out. So let's look at Apple's target market. Okay, Apple's target market. Watch any Apple commercial. I challenge you to watch any Apple commercial. The main person that they're talking to is millennials. And by millennials, I don't just mean this big bank of millennials. I mean 25 to 35. They are enrolled in college. They work for fun, mostly using their parents' money. These are not people who need to work to live. These are people who like, I'm totally gonna work at Starbucks because I get free coffee and I get to see my friends and it's awesome. Like, that's not the average person. The average person is, I have to go to work today because if I don't do the work, I don't get the money to pay for the living and the food and the electricity, which I really enjoy having. They love to travel. They love to go out to the clubs. They love their friends. They love experiences. They are seen as influencers. They are motivated by being on trends. The worst thing that can happen to this group is feeling like they don't have the latest and greatest, or that their clothes are not on trend, or that the club that they're going to is so 10 minutes ago. Worst thing in the world that can happen to them. Communication. Primarily, it's going to be Instagram or text or Snapchat. Do not email these people. No, they're not on email. They're barely on Facebook. Not to say that you wouldn't use Facebook to a degree, but you don't see a whole lot of Apple ads on Facebook. There's a reason for that, because that's not where their target market is. So let's look at their buyer persona. Apple's buyer persona is a Stefan. Now, his mom named him Steven, and they call him Steve when he goes back home. But to his friends and to his professors, he's a Stefan. Got it? He is 23 years old. He doesn't work. He goes to college. He hangs with his friends at the trendiest spots. He loves to shop for nice clothes. Now, online is primarily where he shops. He does not like to go into stores because he doesn't like the people in the stores. He wants to be seen as a trendsetter and carefree. Money is not really an issue because he has Daddy's Amex Platinum card. So he can pretty much buy what he wants, okay? Now, this might be a perfectly nice young man. I don't mean to disparage him in any way, but now that I'm in his mind a little bit, if I can think about when I'm creating content, I go, would this appeal to a Stefan? When this comes up on his Insta, is he going to share it? Is he going to like it? Is he going to, would he send out a tweet about, getting the latest and greatest? Or, these are the kind of things that we're looking at. How can we engage with this buyer persona, with this target market, knowing what we know about him? Like I say, completely fictitious, made up person. I don't know anybody named Stefan. I don't know this guy at all. This is just my representation of Apple's buyer target market. All right. Now, let's talk about the old rules of PR versus the new rules of PR. In the old rules, now when I was coming up, I'm going to show my age here a little bit. When I worked for Marriott Vacation Club International, we were under the old rules. Yes, the internet was out, but nobody was really doing anything much with it. It was a place to like find things out, and that was pretty much it. Like there wasn't the content that's there now, of course. Airtime came from media only. So there again, when we're talking about journalists and media, there is a distinction. We had our media contacts, and that's who we went to when we were launching a new property. We would have a media event. These were not journalists, because journalists are covering news stories. They're covering wars. They're covering murder. They're covering, really serious things in the world. Our media contacts were covering soft stories, which people still need and want to hear, because that kind of softens the blow on the harsh realities of this world. Your press release was your only hope, and it was a hope at best, unless you were really tight with an editor. You would send out the press release and just cross your fingers that somebody would come and cover your event. No one saw the press release except for editors. You could not send it directly to a media contact, a reporter, a group. Had to go through the editors. So the editors got to pick and choose which events were going to be covered, which stories were going to be covered, that kind of thing. Very intimidating. Jargon was okay because that was media speak. So you would use high terms. You would use, cliches. That was all kind of expected because that's how your traction would build. Your release had to have quotes, had to have experts, had to have images. It had to have a marching band. Okay, it didn't have to have a marching band, but you get the idea. Like it had to go big, or it was going to end up on the editor's desk and never be seen again. PR and media were frenemies with very, very separate goals. We did not have similar goals like what we had today, which is, if we get attention, the media gets attention, and we're all going for the same publics. It was very siloed, and we had to use the media, but we kind of resented that fact. They had to cover our stuff. They kind of resented that fact. So it was a very sibling rivalry type of situation. And ROI measurement was king. That's the only thing you had to go on, was your return on investment. There were none of these other metrics. There was no Google Analytics. There was nothing else to measure if you were successful or not. New rules. Marketing is more than just ads. PR is for more than media. Now we can speak directly to our publics. We can speak directly to consumers. You are what you published. You can be authentic without the spin. Gone are the days of cliches and jargon. You can have original, meaningful interactions directly with your publics. That is so freeing to public relations professionals. I can't even. You can have participation without the propaganda. The content is delivered on demand. If your client or if your public say, I don't really understand what it is that you're creating or what you're promoting. Oh, I can create a video that quick and explain that to you. That is content on demand. I'll push that out the same day when I get that kind of feedback. Your narrowed message to a target market, like we talked about, your target audience is that small inner circle. So you can create content that is for that inner circle, which is going to guarantee that they're going to influence the next circle and the next circle, versus throwing it out there and just hoping that your target market can find it somehow in the midst of all of this noise. The messaging is 24/7 capability. The internet, I'm sorry, I skipped around a little bit, but you get it. The internet has made PR about the public again instead of about media relations. Now, that is not to say that we don't still use the media and have good relationships. I think this has actually improved the relationships with media relations and media contacts, because it's freed them as well, and it's freed us. So we don't feel this like we owe them or they owe us or anything like that. We can actually work together to create a similar goal, and it's great. So I think it's really increased that, and it's improved that. Plus that there's a lot more media channels that are available to us these days. It's no longer just a evening news or a commercial or a newspaper article. There are so many media channels available out there, and the 24/7 news cycle and things like that. So it gives us a lot more opportunity. Social networks make publics feel connected, which translates into consumers. Remember, the goal of public relations is to turn a person who is in our publics group, people who don't know, don't care, into consumers, which our ultimate goal is to turn them into champions for our brand or for our client. 24/7 messaging capability. The lines between PR and media have blurred. And again, I think that's a really positive thing, where, sometimes you can just be watching something and not realize, oh, wait, I was just kind of watched a commercial, didn't I? It can happen very organically, but I think that adds to the authenticity of the conversation. And metrics are no longer just ROI. So let's talk about ROI metrics and analytics. Who's running the show? ROI is an old school way of calculating things. It is still valuable today, but it is not the only metric that we look at. So ROI is return on investment. It's a mathematical formula that requires some hard numbers. And that's where we have some issues with current and new rules PR. How much did you spend developing the content? How much did you spend to publish and distribute the content? And then the hard part, now, what dollar amount did this specific content yield? That is really hard to measure when you're talking about public relations. When they saw my ad, what did they do? Did they go into a store? You can't really measure that based on an ad. You can't know what drove them to go to the store. Did they click on it and buy? That's a little bit easier to measure. Did they tell one of their friends about it? Did they ask their husband to buy it for them for their birthday? There are a million different ways that content could have impacted somebody. Or did they click away and go to a competitor? Did they say, oh, that's a terrible ad, I don't want anything to do with that? Really hard to measure with simple ROI. So that's why with new rules of PR, we go into different metrics. We look at the lead quality. That's where your analytics come in to tell you, when they clicked on my site, did they click on it and then click away? Did they go to another page? Did they stay on that one page and read the content? Did they watch the video? Did they click through to my YouTube channel? Did they click through to my Instagram? Did they start following me on Facebook? What was the engagement like? Sales is very straightforward, but you won't always know what the driver was for that. A lot of things usually go into a sale, and a lot of different impressions can go into a sale. You may want to look at brick and mortar, which is brick and mortar is if they have a physical store, or online only. Or if they have phone sales may be another thing that you need to track. Web traffic, Google Analytics. You got don't want to apologize for this, but I just want to give you fair warning for it. This is not normal what I do this week, which is having you go through the Google Analytics training. However, it's done by Google and it is excellent. And I will tell you, the way that they break it down, if you only have 15 minutes, go in and do 15 minutes of it. It's totally fine. You're still going to get that content. You're still going to get that learning. But I will tell you, that is excellent, excellent, excellent. And I could have reinvented the wheel, but they've got it done so well that I just wanted to let you have that opportunity to watch the Google Analytics University teach the Google Analytics, and it's free, which is always great. Google Analytics is going to tell you a lot about your ROI for your social media engagement, for your website engagement. It can look at a lot of different factors and give you a lot of information. On-site engagement is something else that needs to be measured. What is the, when they walk into the Apple store, what's the engagement like? Do they stop up front and just talk to one person? Do they wander back to the Genius bar? Do they play around with the equipment? Each consumer is different. So you have to look at that and look at how they're engaging on site. Social media ROI is calculated different than traditional ROI because you're not going to have anything really to publish or distribute the content. You plug it in, you upload it, it's there. There's not a big cost in developing the content usually. It's a lower cost form of public relations and of advertising. So how is that developed? That cost is still going to be a factor because you still have a person that you're paying. You may be paying for images, but it's just a different type of calculation. And then what was the specific content yield? Actually, social media ROI is a lot better at tracking that than traditional ROI was. SEO success. What does your search engine optimization look like? And we're going to be studying that a little bit later on this month about search engine optimization and keywords and the things that you can do to optimize your website. And then exposure and authority, both online and offline. Is your client seen as an authority? What is your client's exposure in the marketplace? You ultimately want to get to where it's a household word. You ultimately want to get to where everybody so sorry about that. Where everybody knows your client, where everybody thinks that they're an authority in the field, but you have to start where you are and then build up to that. And how do you build up to that? So I know I threw a lot at you. I've got some great articles for you to read. I've got some good, like the Google Analytics content is fantastic. And, ultimately I'm available. So if you have questions, let's talk. Hit me up and let me know, hey, I've got, Monday afternoon available. I've got Tuesday morning available, and I've got Wednesday evening available. Let's set a time, and I want to have a Zoom talk with you, or I want to have a phone conversation with you. Let me know some times and how you want to interact, and then I can set my schedule accordingly, and we can get that set up. All right, guys, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I hope you're having a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.